Hey there, everyone. This is Eric Richards with Springs Houses Online Realty. I'm going to go over the October stats, the month we just finished, and talk about what we saw in the Pikes Peak Area Realtors Association data. So let's dive into the numbers here. You can see that the homes for sale inventory number was somewhat static. Not surprising. There's always a conversation around seasonality. Does it exist? Does it not? We're not a beachfront community. We're not a mountain ski town. We certainly are not a community where snowbirds flock to us the way they would in, say, Arizona or California or Florida. So, what drives seasonality? Military PCS transfers and then the willingness to move during a snowstorm. It's November 4th, the day before the election, and it's snowing out. So that drives a lot of people's mentality about, do I want to move in the coming months? New listings, pretty big increase here. When you run back this way and you think back to COVID, oh no, and you look at these high numbers here, look at this number here, new listings. This is somewhat confidence inspiring for me. We saw this retreat here when the interest rates were running up, and now people are like, hey, let's stick our home on the market. So this is what I would consider to be good news. Total under contract, the canary in the coal mine, the buyer's willingness to put a home under contract, more so than the seller, because right now we have what I would definitively call a buyer's market. That's because negotiations are back, because sellers are giving up seller concessions in order to sell a home. So what we see here is almost a match for new listings to total under contract. That one-for-one replacement issue or factor is what really drove the market during COVID, is we were selling homes faster than we were listing them. So I would call this good news. Average days on market. This correlates directly to the previous slide, where you see the days on market, still not as high as it was in the beginning of the year, has now leveled off. So will we see the same days on market in November? I am hesitant to offer any sort of prediction, because in an election year, and with the Fed slowly tapering off rates a quarter of a point at a time, is it enough to really clip off the partial seasonality and then the desire of people to move during the winter? We shall see. Year-to-date sales. This one surprised me. While it doesn't have 5 figures into it the way that this one does, I expected the year-to-date sales to be much larger, given that we just saw this days on market and this really encouraging number here of homes under contract. I'm not quite sure what is going on here in terms of this mild drop off, but I had anticipated, based on the previous slides that I reviewed before making this video, this number would have been closer to like 10,700 or almost 11,000. But color me shocked, so we shall just make a note of this for the next video. This one also really shocked me, this increase here. And I'll go over that in a moment in one of these other PDFs up here, but you see an average price increase like that. And what's driving that? Simply put, there were a couple of really high-end sales and a couple of less low price point sales, and that blended the average higher. Median sales are what you really pay attention to. See how it clips off the highs and the lows and kind of this sharp movement. When you think about this nice even number here, again, median is the most frequent sale as opposed to a blended average. So we saw it retreat off of these highs that we maintained over the summer months, where it was 500,000, and now we're dropping here. This will correlate nicely into the next PDF that I'll go over in a moment. This is also a little bit surprising. When you look here, we saw condos and townhomes rise, and we also saw total sales in the month here rise. Now, why does this number, 998 total sales in October, not help out that total sales for the year as opposed to previous sales during 2023? Couple of points to make. One, not an election year. Two, in 2023, I think buyers were really just accustomed to the higher interest rates, and there were some loan specials going on. But right now, people feel like relief is somewhat imminent, if you describe that as over the coming months, that rates will come down. So maybe people are just waiting it out, re-signing leases, fixing up their homes, and waiting for the summer of 25. That would be my uh, first blush, kind of analysis. Let's go into some numbers. This is always a really helpful chart when you're thinking about listing your home, because what it shows is this is the percentage of homes that sold, how many of them actually had to take a price reduction, and to what extent the price reduction was. You can see that 6% on a $2 million home is a lot of cheddar. When you get down here in the meat and potatoes of Colorado Springs, which is 400 to 500, based on the average and median sales prices, you see that most people were working it out based on around 2.3%. Teller County kind of surprised me because this is where people, when they want to, kind of really get out there. And you saw an 8%, a 4%, and a 6% price reduction all under 400,000. 6% on 400,000 is 24,000. And that's a lot of money. And remember, there were some price reductions that were probably 8, 9, 10% blended with some 1, 2% price reductions. So there was a lot of haggling and negotiating up in Teller County. And albeit there's not many sales in Teller County when you look across this row right here, as opposed to up here where you're talking about hundreds of sales. Let's scroll down and take a look at the sold listing analysis. So when you just compare October 24 and September 24, you can see that in September, there were a lot of sales that were stacked over on this side of the equation and a little bit less over here. And that factor, when you look at it, that's what really drove down the average, or pardon me, the median sales price. But the average sales price certainly climbed because of these guys right here. So anyway, that is some good information. I'll finish up on this slide. I rarely do because there's just a whole lot of, gobbledygook right here in front of us, but I want you to pay attention to this number. Yeah, that's our total sales volume for the year, and it's about 170 million off for the year. So we're definitely resetting what Colorado Springs is capable of doing in terms of a sales number. Collectively, how does this, or generally speaking, how does this impact you as a potential buyer? Negotiating power. As a potential seller, you have to make some pretty big strides with your home. Fix it up, make it perfect, make sure that it passes a home inspection with flying colors, but also more importantly, price reductions have to become part of the strategy. We saw that in the earlier slide. So hopefully all that helps. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I do look forward to speaking with you on the next one.